just speak.
Would you like to say something or
Yes.
just take questions?
Oh, no, it's fine. I'll say something, I guess. This is very last minute.
Can you start with your name, please?
Oh, okay. Vanessa Fowler, co-chair of the Queensland Government Domestic and Family Violence Prevention Council, but also the chair of the Allison Baden-Clay Foundation. So today we certainly welcome the announcement by the Premier and congratulate the government on this major step forward in the prevention and support of domestic and family violence within Queensland. We as a community are certainly excited to see the changes that may come out of the recommendations and the commitment by the government to ensure that survivors and victims are supported in the many facets and struggles and challenges. We are here today as we represent those whose lives have been taken. We represent those survivors. We represent those victims who are going through incidents of domestic and family abuse. And to hear that the government is committed to criminalising coercive control for us is a major step forward. There was much emotion in the gallery when the Premier made the announcement about coercive control and its criminalisation. And we certainly understand that domestic and family violence is not just physical. As the Premier has said, it is that pattern of behaviour that occurs over many, many years. And in many incidences, that final physical act of violence is the fatal one. So once again, I thank the government. I congratulate the government on taking the initiative, moving Queensland forward towards a safer and more equal future for all women, children, men and society. Thank you.
Okay. We all good?
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, today's, like Vanessa said, very emotional day for us. This is something why we formed Small Steps for Hannah, to give our four angels a voice and make change. And today, so yeah, very emotional for us and grateful that the government has come on board. They've always been in the background there with us talking, and we're so grateful that they're actually going to make coercive control laws. It's something we've been pushing for, and we're so happy that they also are putting money into education for kids who need to know what a better relationship is like, a healthy relationship, and also to the police force. They've always been behind us as well, but there is just underfunded and lack of recognisation of coercive control. But with this money, hopefully that will make things a lot better and a lot stronger for the police.
Now we just have to work on the other states. We've got Queensland to listen, and they're listened well. And now if we can move on to other states, if we can get this a national law, that would be fantastic.
Do you think this package as a whole will help? And also comments on the Commission of Inquiry into how police handle domestic violence?
Oh, 100%.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's well, it's better than nothing. It's a great start.
And the police do a great job, but unfortunately there's a few that need a bit more education, and if we have the funding and education to support the police, I think they can do a better job.
Do you describe this as a watershed moment? Are these one of the biggest changes we've ever seen in this space, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's a massive
Really
change,
is.
and
We're thrilled.
I still won't rest until those laws are in place, and be a lot more happier once that's done.
Can you talk to what difference you think they would have made to people in your daughter's situation, and whether you believe they'll save lives now going into the future?
People would have believed her, validated what she said. She was very lucky. Her first dealing with the police force, she had a wonderful policewoman that she dealt with who believed her and helped her understand what she was going through. She didn't understand. So we've been very lucky like that, but they still need a lot of education to help. Not every woman gets such a good police officer first encounter.
This sounds a little abrasive, I'm sorry if it does, but if these laws had been in place, would Hannah and her children still be here?
I like to think so. I really do.
Yeah, it's a hard one. He was a monster. There was no way to stop him, but we're hoping with this perpetrator program too, that will help perpetrators to understand what they're doing and change their minds.
A lot of perpetrators don't understand what they're doing, or even that they are committing a crime. So if we can have more education like that, and then perpetrator programs to help them realise what's happening.
And this $363 million package, is that enough given the scale of the problem?
I don't think any amount of money is enough, but it's a start.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a start.
Do you concede there are some cases and some individuals who just can't stop doing such horrendous crimes against family?
Unfortunately, I think there are some like that, but I like to think everyone can be helped or stopped if we can get in early enough.
Every perpetrator needs one chance, just that one chance, and if they muck up, well, they feel the full force of the judicial system, I think.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Can I just check that none of our other stakeholders wanted to speak?
Oh, could we ask Vanessa some questions?
Yeah.
Because if we could get your impressions too on the scale of these changes, some people are talking about this being a watershed moment, it's an historic performance.
I certainly think it is an historic moment. I think that over the last 10 years, since Allison's death, we really have come a long way in that people now recognise that domestic violence is not just physical, that we're now talking about coercive control, which is, abuse that happens behind closed doors and a pattern of behaviour over time. So I think that, that's certainly a great step forward for us as a society and the Queensland government. I certainly think that the package will go a long way to help a lot of those frontline services who are here today. They have been, screaming out for support for community housing and support on the front line, and I think that this package will certainly go a long way to help them.
As you say, community attitudes and a lot has changed in the past 10 years. What do you think, what difference would these laws have made had they been in place 10 years ago to someone like your sister's circumstances?
I certainly think that they would have helped. In Allison's case, there was coercive control, and we as a family didn't recognise that because at that time there wasn't a lot of education around it. People were not talking about it. It was a dark conversation and it was swept under the carpet. But of course, since her death, we have highlighted the fact that that can happen to anyone, that domestic abuse doesn't discriminate. And so now people are talking about it. The community recognises it in their work colleagues and their family and friends. And so now people are more aware of it, and I think that that's certainly something that, as a government, they've pledged a lot more funds to education and prevention, and certainly as a Prevention Council, that's a major part of our role.
Can we just ask former Commissioner Allison?
Absolutely.
Just on the Commission inquiry into police, last year when the report was handed down, Carol Carroll said she didn't think that the Commission inquiry was necessary. What's your position? What do you think?
My personal view as someone who it's been nearly 10 years since I was the Police Commissioner, so comments about the Police Department are rightly for the Police Commissioner, Katarina Carroll. But my role now is with Vanessa to co-chair the Domestic and Family Violence Prevention Council. I think that hopefully out of all of this, only good will come in the longer term. And the Council works on the basis of 4 approaches: prevention, early intervention, response and recovery for victims. I think this report from Justice McMurdo will help in all 4 of those areas. I think it's a long journey. I think fundamentally, personal view, it's about whilst men can be the victims of domestic violence, the vast majority of domestic violence is perpetrated by men against women. And I think that fundamentally what we need to do is change the attitudes, values, beliefs and behaviours of those men towards women. That won't happen overnight, but I think this is a very, very significant step in the journey to achieving that. And on behalf of the Prevention Council, I'm grateful that the government have invested in the Prevention Council, because whilst it's important to respond and to prosecute people, if we can prevent these things happening in the first place, how much better is that overall?
And what do you think the Commission of Inquiry should look at? Should it be the culture? Should it be the mechanisms within the service? Should it be how they respond? Exactly how wide-ranging should it be?
Again, that's, I guess, relevant to the report, and it's a matter for those who undertake that particular area, but I would hope that it would be a broad approach that would look at aspects such as training and awareness, and the degree of difficulty potentially in assessing a situation where you're there firsthand, and hopefully the follow-up in relation to things like that.
Having a real insight, I guess, as former police commissioner, but also with your work with duty advocates, do you have any thoughts on what it might find on the Commission of Inquiry?
Into the police department? Look, well, no, not really. I think Margaret Murdo set out that there was a need for a better understanding and better response, and presumably the inquiry will work towards ways to helping to achieve it. But again, I think it's all part of the journey, and that's why it's so good. As Vanessa said, this was something that wasn't known about, there wasn't awareness. And we've seen that in many other areas of society too. Child abuse, child sexual abuse, that's an area that just was never spoken of, wasn't aware of. So the legislation to address domestic violence only came into existence in 1989. I mean, we had, legislation for decades and decades before that about lots of issues. So this has been a long journey. And it's still got a way to go. This is tremendous what's happened today, but we can't afford to lose the momentum that exists. And sadly, often that momentum is created by the tragedies associated with Allison Baden-Clay 10 years ago and Hannah Clarke just over 2 years ago. So that's what we want to avoid, of course, at all costs, but we must keep the momentum going. I think I could speak for all of us here today, that we're really grateful to the media as well to continuing to make the community aware of the issues associated with this.
Do you have any comments on, I guess, the life-saving potentials of reforms like this?
Oh,
Just how far
absolutely, and that's part of the difficulty, that you never know what to prevent because it doesn't happen. But for the police department, again, I'm not speaking, but it's 120,000 calls for service last year. It's the biggest area of workload that they have. At least statistically what we're told is at least 1 and sometimes 2 women on average are murdered each week in Australia. But every day 10 women are admitted to hospital because of injuries associated with domestic violence. So, the potential here is just enormous in terms to do good, and for us, all of us, between us, to create a better society. But I think one of the most profound messages today was the Premier's words when she said that no one individually can do this alone. This is a collective effort on behalf of the entire community. We must all get behind this and support it.
Having said that, Bob, will this package save lives?
Oh, undoubtedly, yes. In my view, yes, undoubtedly. Thank you.
Can I just check there are no others who want to speak?
I'm just watching. Hi.
Hello, my name is Beck O'Connor. I'm the CEO of DV Connect, the statewide crisis response service. I'm also a member of the Ending Violence Against Women Queensland and the Queensland Domestic Violence Services Network. I would just like to commend the government on actually seeking out and prioritising the voice of those with lived experience. And today's announcement is absolute determination and compassion to actually listen and hear what they're saying. I think that what's really fundamental, and we think is fundamental to this, is that it really shifts the burden on those who are experiencing violence and puts that on those who are actually choosing to use, control violence and abuse, and those that are responsible to respond, prevent and protect people. We are excited that the 4 phases are going to be supported as well, particularly in terms of having some taking the right amount of time to be considered and to be consultative about how this reform is implemented, and that it will be led by the voices of First Nations people and communities, and how we can make sure very carefully that implementing all of this reform does not further criminalise or re-victimise those who are profoundly impacted. And we absolutely welcome the investment in the specialist courts and the co-responder model being extended throughout the state, and that there is an absolute understanding of the investment in infrastructure that will be necessary to make sure that we can respond. Coercive control, we have a system that is absolutely geared towards physical violence, and we know that even just throughout this campaign and this process and this consultation, that the number of people that are calling my service has absolutely increased because of the actual understanding of the situation that they're living in. And so we absolutely welcome that there will be investment into how we're actually going to be responding to this, because it will increase pressure on services, and it will absolutely increase pressure. So, yeah, thank you. That's what I want to say. Thanks.
Keith Tracy Paddy, Chief Operating Officer from Challenge DV. We are a workplace, we are a domestic and family violence awareness organisation with a focus on driving change through raising awareness. We welcome today's historic announcement by the Queensland Government. In particular, we acknowledge the focus on awareness raising and education. We believe that investing in making sure the community understands what domestic and family violence is will save lives now and into the future. So we thank the Queensland Government for the opportunity to be here today, and we're most grateful for their continued focus on ending domestic and family violence.
Could I just get the first and last?
Yes, sir. Keith Tracy Paddy, TRACEY-PATTE.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.